Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. So before I get into the review, let me talk a little bit about what happened over the next few days. You may know the last few days, I should say. You may have noticed I haven't put out a review since Saturday night. I did Deadstream because I said that my what I was doing for Halloween Horror Month had changed, and now it's changed back sort of. So I could have waited on that, but I really wanted to watch it. I'm glad I did because it was good. Um, and so my attention was going to be put on those comic book movies that I was going to do, but I just had no inhibitions, nothing, no initiative, I should say, to do. I'm going to end up doing those out of order. I can't do them in order because I have no want to watch Tank Girl right now or Barbed Wire. So I'm just going to do them out of order. I'm not going to stick in order. I found the Superman special edition with the Superman and the Mole Man anyway after I said I couldn't find it. Then I found it the next day. But here's what happened. So Sunday, Big LT and the girl came over. We watched NXT's pay-per-view, Great American Bash, premium live event, Great American Bash. And then Monday, I got a case of the Fuckets and just decided I'm going to mess around on 2K23 all day. So I did that. And yesterday, they came back over again for the actual NXT show. And so today is the first day I was able to actually put out a review. And I'm like, what am I going to review? What am I going to review? And I had an idea, which is going to be my next review. I'm going to start reviewing movies that have sequels that I can add to a sequel-a-thon. So yeah, that's gonna start my next review. This is not that. As you might be saying, wait a minute, this movie doesn't have a sequel. I know it's that. How I came across the idea to do this was like last year at some point, I was listening to a '90s playlist on Spotify, and a song came across. This song, "Jumper" by Third Eye Blind. And I'm like, I remember this song, so I put it in my playlist. But a couple months ago, it came across it again. I was like, okay, I like that song. Okay, about a couple months ago or so. I'm like, yeah, that song. I forgot I put it on here. There was a few that I found and put in my playlist when I came. I'm like, what is this? Oh, I remember this song back in the '90s too. But yeah, and so I put together my own playlist on YouTube. It's a personal playlist. It's called "Oh Yeah," full of those kind of songs. Blink-182, Sum 41, those kind of bands, stuff like that. Third Eye Blind, stuff like that. And I put Semi Charmed Life on there. And so then I was in a playlist, and they do suggestions for what you can put on there, and that song was on there. And I'm like, is that the song I think it is? And I clicked it. And I'm like, yeah. So I've been obsessed with that song, with Jumper, for the past couple of days now. Listening to it, putting in my earphones, listening to it. And just today, I found out that there was if you know about that song and you know what movie I'm doing, I found out that there's a scene in the movie Yes Man where Jim Carrey sings this song to a guy that's trying to commit suicide by jumping off of a building. And I'm like, there was so much I can critique from that one scene. I'm like, I have to find this movie so I can talk about this scene. It stemmed from that. I want to talk about this scene, but I gotta find this movie. It's streaming nowhere for free. I can buy it, but I don't have like money to buy another thing. But I went to my Xbox. I went to the Xbox store and found it and rented it for $2.99. So for $3, not bad renting price for this movie. And I'm probably gonna end up buying this movie because I enjoyed it. Although I do feel like it kind of falls apart at the end, and it was way off from what I thought it was because I remember seeing the trailer for this. We're on to the review now. I remember seeing the trailer for this and thinking, oh, it's like Liar Liar or yeah, it's like Liar Liar, where he has to say yes. He's some kind of power is making him say yes to everything. But that's not what it is. It's more of uh, you know, it kind of combines Shallow Hal Bruce Almighty, and Liar Liar, but he is not forced to say yes, and that the only thing he can answer or answer no question with is yes. No, it's more like there's weird mechanics to it. He has to say yes. If he says no, he has bad luck, I guess, but that's never really explained, and that's a little bit my confusion towards the end of the film, where it's made of like throughout most of the film, in his opinion, in his point of view, he has to say yes, or bad things will happen to him. That's what it seems like, and then towards the end, it just kind of unravels a bit. But so Carl Allen is a loan officer at a local bank who has a very bad outlook at life that stems from a divorce they had 2 years prior to this. Now that was my first head scratcher. I'm like, why would he still be, affected by his divorce after 2 years? Sometimes it happens. I don't know. It could be realistic. I don't know. But yeah, he's very negative. He says no to a lot of things. He doesn't want to go out with his friends or anything. Yeah. His two friends, by the way, are played by Bradley Cooper and Danny Masterson. And in hindsight, with what Danny Masterson is going through, what's happened with his personal life, his role in this film, his character in this film is very, I don't know. People would look at this and be like, yeah, that didn't age well. He's supposed to be the horny friend, but knowing what Danny Masterson's past and what he's, been went to court for, that doesn't, it just makes you go, it hasn't aged well. It hasn't aged well. So, Carl meets up with this old friend of his outside the bank, and his old friend's played by Philip Baker Hall. Is it Philip Baker Hall? Or was it? No. It's the guy who, the host of American Says. That guy. You know who he is. That guy. But he's like, hey, I'm thinking Philip Baker Hall is the guy from Rush Hour. They were both in, it's weird because Molly Simpson's in this too, and she played his wife in Fired Up. How you spell Fired Up? F-U. It's not right at all, isn't it? But yeah, this movie also comes across as that it was written as rated R, and it's been dumbed down to a PG-13. That's what it seems like. Not that it was filmed that way, but the script was written for rated R. I mean, Jim Carrey says the F-bomb 2 times in a row in this movie. I guess because he goes, fucking, and the second time that they didn't register it as one, because usually you only get one in PG-13. Is this rated R? There is some situations that, like, there's a joke. There's a blowjob joke at the beginning of this movie, and I'm like, was this supposed to be rated R? The blowjob joke saying the F-bomb twice. I'm like, was this supposed to be rated R? They even go back to that with Danny Masterson's character towards the end of the film, and I'm like, I'm not sure 13-year-olds would understand those kind of jokes, but yeah, so he's taken to this seminar where we meet Terrence, played by Terrence Stamp. I'm like, it's literally Terrence Stamp playing a character named Terrence. Did they have to go far to think of that name for him? But anyway, basically, this guy tells him, and Terrence's friend Nick says, you say yes to everything, and like he's ask me if I want to throw this rock in the bank window. Do you want to throw? Yes, and he throws it. And I'm like, okay, but then like the lesson I was supposed to teach, apparently this guy hasn't learned it yet. So he goes there and he is convinced to do this, to say yes, right? And so he ends up saying yes to a homeless guy. he gives him a ride. He lets him use his phone, which ends up in his battery being drained. And then he drives him out to where he lives, which is like a little homeless camp in the middle of nowhere. And then he runs out of gas, so he has to walk to a gas station where he meets his love interest for the movie, not Lucy, Allison, played by Zoe Deschanel, which, yes, they're almost 20 years apart. But, because Jim Carrey was in his 40s here, she was in her late 20s at this point. So, I don't know. It's very weird. Maybe early 30s. I don't know. He's like 50. He's 61, and she's 42, I think, right now. So there's 44. There's, sufficient amount of time, but years between them. So I don't know. It's interesting, but meets her there, and he says yes to her giving him a ride back to his car, and she kisses him, and then he just moves on with his life. He starts saying yes until he gets to his elderly neighbor Tilly, who offers him oral sex for hanging up these shelves in her apartment. He says no, and immediately gets his coat stuck in the door, falls down the steps, and almost gets attacked by a dog. He starts to realize, okay, I have to say yes or bad luck will happen. Now, you could say that this is a coincidence, but later something happens again. So, yeah. So, we also meet his ex-wife, played by Molly Sims, who has a new boyfriend who I recognize from the show Brothers Keeper. It was a TGIF show back in the late 90s. You remember that? He was the irresponsible brother, is what it was. But I remember him from that. First, I thought it was Dave Coulier. I'm like, no. They look similar in the face, but that's not him. But, yeah. And, so he's saying yes to everything at this point, and he even says yes. So his friends, this is the one thing, his friends realize he has to say yes to everything, so they end up getting him drunk and all that stuff, and causes issues, because he ends up getting into a fight, and it's like, oh, okay, it's our fault, you could tell this was probably filmed towards the end of that 70s show, because Dan Masterson has his perm, but his mustache, which is what he had toward the end of that. I keep picturing that episode where he has a bad toke, whatever you call it, where he sees everyone as him, and so he's mimicking Faz, and he goes, yes, with the mustache on. I just keep seeing that throughout it. Yes. But bad trip. That's what it was. A bad trip. I don't do drugs, so only prescription stuff, and it's I only take what's necessary. Like I take a bowl Advil for a headache, or if I get a tooth pulled, I need to take something for that. It's excruciating. If you need to, do it. But anyway, so he ends up meeting up with Allison again, because there's this band that this guy outside his bank keeps trying to ask him to go to, and he finally says yes, and it ends up being Allison's band. I don't know what kind of band they are. They're weird, but he says yes to everything. He starts saying yes to everyone's loans, which they think is going to get him in trouble, but he ends up getting a promotion for it. He says yes to taking guitar lessons and learning Korean, which both come out in handy later. The guitar lessons come in handy when he's with Lucy, because his friend, Bradley Cooper's character, coerces him into helping Lucy with his fiancée Lucy with her bridal shower, and so he gets roped into it, and then he talks to this Korean lady in Korean, and this leads into the other thing where the guitar comes in handy, and the scene I wanted to talk about, Okay, so this is very much a comedy. All right, this is a comedy, that sort of thing. But I felt like Jim Carrey went too much in this scene. Because it could have worked. You got Luis Guzman playing this jumper who says he's going to jump. And so when I first saw this scene, I'm thinking, oh, why did they do this? He has to say yes, right? Like, he can't say no. Like, because I thought it was still that whole thing where he has to say yes to everything, no matter what. Like, he was compelled to say yes, not that he had free will, but that, you know. But here, he goes up to talk to him, and there's one line where he's like, "Don't try to stop me." He's like, "Okay, okay, what do you mean, okay?" He goes, "So just give me some time." And I'm like, "Okay." So he grabs the guitar and he starts singing the song, and it's fine, but he goes a little goofy with how he does it. And watching this again on my TV, um, it does come across like this is supposed to be a serious moment. This is supposed to be a serious moment. He's supposed to be helping this guy off there with his thing. And they decide to go into goofy territory with it. Where he's like, I wish you would get back from that ledge, my friend. You can cut the ties of all the lies you've been rigging in. And I will understand. He just comes off a little goofy doing it. And like, there is some like live factor to it with Luis Guzman starts singing and all people down there start singing. Yeah, but I just feel like this guy, you're trying to talk down a guy who's trying to commit suicide. So don't you think you should have be more serious about it? And then it ends with him pulling him in, throwing him down, which is funny. And he goes, "I got blisters on my fingers." And I'm just like, that's supposed to be, but okay. But yeah, just the whole scene would have been better if it had a more serious tone. I understand this is a comedy. Jim Carrey knows comedy, but he's done serious before, like The Majestic or Eternal Sunshine and Number 23. He can do serious. I feel like this should have had a more serious tone in this scene, but that's fine. It's the least of the problems that we have. The biggest problem for me comes for, with every movie you gotta have where someone ends up hitting rock bottom towards the end, and then you gotta have the third act breakup. But how they went about it here made me scratch my head. So eventually he and Allison get together, they become dating, we can girlfriend, whatever. They decide they're gonna take a trip to wherever. They don't know where they're going. And so at the airport, he runs into Zach Stephanie and her boyfriend. They're going to Tahiti, I think, because he has some land there, I guess. And so he doesn't know where they're going. They end up going to Lincoln, Nebraska, which is kind of funny. You think, they can go anywhere in the world. Oh, the next flight is to Lincoln, Nebraska. So they just go off. They have no luggage. They just go off to Lincoln, Nebraska. They have fun there. They go to a game. And then as they're going to board a flight back, they get detained because all of Carl's behavior told the government that he's going to be a terrorist because he's learning to speak Korean. He took flying lessons, so they think he's going to be he's a terrorist. Wow, that is that is all for what? Because we need a scene where Allison learns the truth. So he has to call Bradley Cooper's character to come in there and basically tell them in front of her, he has to say yes. He took this seminar where he has to say yes to everything, so that's what happened. And they just talked about moving in together. And so she thinks he only said yes to her for stuff because of that, which the moving in part, that was true, but everything else, no. But so she's doesn't want anything to do with him now, which just caused him to almost forget about the bridal shower. But he's able to scrounge it in. He also has to tell Norm, his bank manager and new friend, that they're closing down the bank, which, well, that branch of the bank anyway. Which I don't understand, because that bank has had more business in it because of Carl than I could think any other bank would. And that's the one they're closing? Only thing I think of is because he doesn't like Norman. And that is bullshit, this guy, Rocky Carroll. Well, I think it was an NCIS, I think it was. I think it is. The actor, Rocky Carroll. But, yeah. So, he goes home. He's still saying yes to stuff. But he goes home and he gets a call from Stephanie. He's just trying to answer the phone all the time thinking that it's Allison, but it's Stephanie. And Stephanie says that she and her boyfriend broke up and she wants him to come over. So she broke up with him, right? They don't explicitly say it, but there was one moment when they were at the airport and she saw that Carl was happy. She looked back at him like she was jealous. So either one of two things happened. She broke up with her boyfriend because she wanted to get back with Carl, or boyfriend realized that she wasn't over Carl and broke up with her. Either one could work. But the way she just starts kissing him makes me think of the former, because it very much seems she broke up with boyfriend just to get back with Carl. But Carl tells her no. And this is my biggest problem. As soon as he tells her no, the elevator stops working, and he has some bad luck. The elevator stops working. He, has bad luck. So he decides to go back to the convent and talk to Terrence, which ends up with both of them getting in a car accident. He wakes up in a hospital room with his friends there, and Terrence tells him that it's complete bullshit what he said. He was not compelled to do anything. There was no convent curse thing over him. So why did he have bad luck both times that he said no? I understand it was the first time he said no. It could be coincidence. But it seems like every time he would have said no. Like, it's okay to say no. So why is it both times he said no to something did bad luck happen afterwards? It doesn't make any sense. It's a head scratch to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if it's all bullshit the entire time, then why did he have bad luck every time he said no? Like, he said no twice in this film, really. Technically 3, but that was during an FBI interrogation, so I don't think that's... Although his girlfriend did break up with him after that, so... Maybe? I don't know, but... I don't know. But this spurs him to go find Allison. He has his new friend, Lee, which... You've seen a few times in Male Nurse. He takes the Bugatti that he helped him get, and then, or Ducati, whatever, and drives it to where she is, and they end up getting back together, that sort of thing. And yeah, they're happy. They're gonna be happy. The movie ends, that sort of thing. I was pretty sure the movie was gonna end at the wedding, the best friend's wedding, but no, all the stuff preparing for it, it's not part of the film. But I enjoyed this. I'm going to give it a pretty good. And that's after I wrote it off. Because quite a few years ago, it was on TBS On Demand. And I started watching it. And I just couldn't get into it. I was like, nah, I'm not into it. And turned it off. Never gave it a second chance. But that one scene on YouTube, changed my mind. And so eventually I'm going to have to buy this. I know I am. But, yeah. I thought it was actually pretty good. So, what are your thoughts on it? Yes, man. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one. I will understand.